Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Wednesday, November 20th. It is 2024. We have an 8-game NBA slate to talk about here on today's podcast, joined today by Timothy Buell. You all know him in the DFS streets as TastefulTides. Tim, what's happening, my friend?
Yeah, not much, Stevie. Always good to see you. Another great night for some morning grind. Gonna be I don't know, big game by Westbrook tonight. I played him on FanDuel. I did not play him on DK, but I played him on FanDuel. He's only 3% owned, so that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Westbrook, one rebound, right? One rebound away from a triple-double. NBA Cup, man. Like, these are the types of, like, Russell Westbrook is like the definition of a guy that shows up in big games. I mean, Cam Johnson is probably going to be the slate breaker, I think. He's now up over like 50 fantasy points. He's just absolutely smashing. I thought it was really interesting on like how Brooklyn was going to kind of handle minutes tonight, and like they gave Watford enough minutes at minimum salary for him to like kind of perform. And Celtics Cavs game, I didn't get to watch it, but like kind of looking through everything on that game, it looks like it was exactly what we were talking about, or I was talking about on the podcast yesterday. It's an electric basketball game. So Jason Tatum almost got my hot take right. My hot take on Tatum in the expert survey today was 35-15-10, and I think he went 33-12-7. So I was really close to the Jason Tatum, but way overweight on him. Took his point, rebound, assist prop, like I talked about on the podcast last night. So we'll see how the rest of the slate kind of shapes up. I have a lot of exposure to the OKC San Antonio game. So, I mean, my night is still very, very young in the DFS streets. I need Dario Saric to just kind of maybe put together like 10 fantasy points in the last like few minutes of this game. That'd be fantastic. I know a lot of people probably in the same boat as me with Dario. So foul trouble, always fun when it comes to the NBA streets. So foul trouble with NBA, injuries with NFL. Can't get it. In NASCAR, we got crashes. So, I mean, I just can't get around it. So, hope everyone is having a fantastic Tuesday night. What's up, chat? I see you all over there. We got Yeezy, Dave, Derek. I'm trying to read everybody, I think. Yeah. So, what's up, chat? Hope you're enjoying some NBA. Let's jump in and get started here. I mean, this is a nice little 8-gamer. A lot of back-to-backs, like Tim and I were talking about pre-show. So, those are always fun. But a 7:30 lock and DraftKings, including the 10 o'clock game. So it was interesting. I was interested to see if they were going to do a 5-game slate or if they were going to do the full 8-game or not on the slate. So, all right, we got New Orleans at Cleveland, 221.5 total here. The Cavs a 13.5-point favorite. No injury reports for this team because they're both on back-to-backs. I would assume that on the Pelicans side, Murphy sits here. They sat him on the back-to-back over the weekend. So I think Trey Murphy potentially sits in this game. And then everything that I've kind of read is all the same people. Alvarado, Hawkins, Jones, McCollum, Murray, Zion will remain out. And then on the Cleveland side, it'd be interesting to see what happens with LeVert. Okoro was out, so a lot of interesting here. So let's go New Orleans first. I mean, assuming that Murphy sits, what do we like here for the Pelicans up against Cleveland, who finally lost the basketball game against Boston on Tuesday night?
Yeah, I expect there to be a lot of shenanigans with this game on both sides, to be honest with you. It's currently a 13.5-point spread. Both teams on a back-to-back, like you said. The Pelicans are already super thin. I think so. You think Murphy sits?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they sat him in a back-to-back over the weekend, and I was looking like, we'll see, but like the Mavs are starting to pull away in the third quarter. The game was kind of competitive. He's at 22 minutes right now, so maybe they sit him down and they don't get him back in there, and like maybe he doesn't hit his upside or minutes wise. So we'll see, but they sat him in the back-to-back over the weekend.
Yeah, so maybe they'll be forced to play like Jalen Noel, 4,900 point guard, shooting guard. I could see getting to some perhaps some JRE also at 4,700. But really, I mean, this game, I mean, Brandon Ingram's 9K. Like, obviously, you'd want to play him, but in this matchup on a back-to-back, I don't think I want to really get much exposure to an expensive player of the Pelicans. Some of these cheaper guys, like I mentioned, maybe could enter the player pool, but I think even Boston is a little bit too expensive now, even though he should see some pretty heavy minutes as well. But I think he's just too pricey. So I think it's just some of these cheaper pieces that I'd possibly would get to, but I don't have a ton of interest in Steam.
Yeah. Even if like Cleveland ends up sitting some people here, it's really hard for me to get excited about playing New Orleans in this spot. So maybe Boston Jr. Maybe some of the cheap pieces like Noel. If Murphy ends up sitting here, maybe like Noel just kind of taking some shots on the cheap pieces. But overall, even a very short-handed Pelicans team is really hard for me to get excited about playing Cleveland after coming off of a loss. I wouldn't be shocked if like Cleveland gives somebody a rest day here. Like Mitchell got a rest day over the weekend. I wouldn't be shocked if like Mobley or Garland get a rest day here. Like Cleveland's off to a fantastic start. They're 15-1. They're winning this basketball game 95% of the time. So what do you like here for the Cavs?
Yeah, it would not shock me if they maybe, like you said, Mobley or perhaps Garland, who actually really struggled tonight against Boston, sat. I definitely want to get to like one or possibly two Cavaliers just because they're in such a good spot, and they're going to dominate this game. Niang played 30 minutes off the bench, and Merrill only played, I believe it was 19 minutes. So Niang, if he's off the bench again, I don't mind getting to him at 4,400 just because there might be like a lot of like cleanup, mop up time that he may get extended run even. So I don't mind Yang. I don't mind like depending on Levert's status and Okoro's status, like Ty Jerome, again, another guy that would get some mop up duty at only 4,500. But yeah, if Mobley sits, then play Allen. If Allen sits, play Mobley. And if Garland sits, play Mitchell. So I mean, you have to have some interest in this team.
Yeah, I mean, if Okoro, Wade, and Levert all sit again, that's where I think you're playing Niang. If Garland's out, I think you take shots on like Jerome. So a lot of potential. Luckily, this is an early game, and we should have some injury news. So I think that is kind of the big thing here is getting the injury report early enough where we can make adjustments. Because you're gonna have to make adjustments to this game. Both teams on a back-to-back. New Orleans without 6-7 players, and Cleveland potentially missing like 5, if not more, 4 or 5 players here. So a lot of adjustments. We should get a lot of clarification around 1:30 when the initial injury report comes out for this game.
Yeah.
Chicago at Milwaukee. This game is currently at 238.5. Bucks a 7.5 point favorite. On the Chicago side, Ball remains out. Patrick Williams questionable. And then on the Bucks side, Middleton and Rollins out. Let's go to the Chicago side here first. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations about Milwaukee this season, not really starting the season off as well as we kind of hoped. They're not playing as fast. They've been kind of middle of the road in pace, middle of the road in defense. What do we like here for the Bulls going into Milwaukee?
I'm a big believer. I feel like I say this every show in Zach LaVine. He's been hit or miss a little bit, but he has flashed over 50 fantasy points at times this year. He had 45 last game against Detroit. I think he's $1,000 too cheap. Shooting guard, small forward eligibility, which I love. So at 7,100, he's my favorite. We finally saw like a really, really amazing game from Vucevic. I think this is another pretty solid spot against the Bucks. So I think it's Vucevic or LaVine. But really, I guess you could get to some Kobe White too. Like he's been okay. But I just prefer paying the 300 for Levine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you could take tournament shots on Kobe White or Zach LaVine in this spot. I don't know if I'd play them together. There seems like there's a little bit of negative correlation. I've seen a couple games throughout the year and even last year where they've played well. But I think if you're trying to get a ceiling game, you're trying to limit one or the other in this spot. I don't hate Giddey. Point guards have done well against Giddey or against Milwaukee, but I just like White handles the ball just as much as Giddey. So I like the upside for him. Vooch is kind of interesting today. My initial research on this slate was center is really interesting depending on some injury news. So I think Vooch is okay. I have way more interest in the Milwaukee side. This is a pace up spot for Milwaukee. This is the type of game that I think Dame could have a big game. We don't typically see ceiling games from Dame too often, but this is the type of game that I think Dame could give us a little bit of Dame time and have one of those big explosive games. Obviously Giannis is always capable of those big games. Outside of those two guys, I mean, not a ton of interest here in the rest of these secondary pieces. I think maybe Portis in large field tournaments, maybe Prince in large field tournaments, but overall, it's probably Lillard today for me from Milwaukee.
You really threw me a curveball there because I love Giannis in this spot.
I mean, I hear you.
No, yeah. I know, yeah. But I mean, to me, I don't usually prioritize Giannis unless I know I have amazing value. But this is such a smash spot for Giannis, so I'm already pretty much prioritizing him. I'm gonna find a way to fit him in. Chicago has no rim protection. They're horrible defensively. The fastest paced team. This is an absolute smash spot. I think he goes for 75 or more in this game. So I'm prioritizing Giannis.
I hear you. I get why. I 100% get why. When I'm looking at this matchup, I feel like this is the type of matchup that we could just see a bonkers game from Lillard. High pace, get in transition, hit 6, 7, 8 threes, and just have that huge game. Those are the types of games where Dame will go out and he'll hit 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 threes, and we'll see him end up with 60 fantasy points. And this is one of those spots where I could see him have that type of game. He took 21 shots against this team earlier this year, went 3 for 12 from 3-point line, and scored 44 DK points with 28 actual points. He's capable of more. So that's why I like Dame. I'm definitely going to be looking at his player point prop today too, because I do. This is one of those spots. I do think Dame is going to have a big game. So I'll be checking in on his point prop. I was looking to see if it's up. It is up. 24.5, betting the over right now. There you go. There's my bet for today. Philadelphia at Memphis is where we go next. This game, is currently sitting at 218. The 76ers are a 1.5 point favorite. Memphis on a back-to-back. Philadelphia, no Kyle Lowry. Maxi's questionable, so that's something to watch here. We'll see if he's going to return. And then on the Memphis side, I mean, they are dealing with a ton of injuries. Ja Morant, still considered week to week from everything that we've read. And then Zach Edey got mentioned that he's week to week. Marcus Smart did not play on Tuesday night because of an illness, and Williams got hurt during the game on Tuesday night. So we'll see if he plays or not. Let's go to Philadelphia first. Maxey being potentially back is really interesting. We've been playing a lot of Jared McCain. I know I have. I know I've talked about him a lot.
I have, yeah.
He's now up to 6,300 with Embiid back. I mean, even if Maxey plays, I don't think I want to play Jared McCain today.
Yeah, I mean, even if Maxey doesn't play, I think
that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, even if he doesn't play, it's getting up there for him. I mean, it's a really good matchup though. Is the problem? Another really, really high pace up matchup with Memphis. So it's close. It's really, really close. This might be too expensive at this point, and eventually Embiid has to show up, right? Eventually.
Yeah.
So it's pretty tough. I think right now I would say no to him, to McCain. Also, I don't really know what to do with Paul George. Like, this is a really weird setup. Like, I'm kind of imagining Maxi's going to be out again. Because if Maxi's in, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm not going to play any of McCain, George, Maxi, or Embiid. But if he's out, I think there are decisions that have to be made with this team. So, I think McCain and George are right on the fringe, and I think Embiid is too. Like, he was sick last game, I believe, and he still played 31 minutes. Like, he was terrible. But say he finally gets up to that 35, 36 mark, like, he could he's 9,800. Like, he could easily smash this price tag.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is the usage. First game back against the Knicks, we saw a 28% usage, 38% against my Magic. He was very active in the first half of the game against the Magic. And then last time out against Miami, he only had a 19.4% usage rate. So, yeah, the minutes definitely there. The usage kind of all over the point. Like, we play Joel Embiid because he has a 35% usage rate and he's demanding the ball. Well, we're just now like getting to see a little bit of Paul George and Joel Embiid together, and I don't know what that really looks like. I don't think none of us really know what that looked like. So I don't know if Joel Embiid is going to be an 11, 12K player this year. Like, he might not be that guy, especially like when Maxi comes back. Like, he has players on the team. So I worry about Joel Embiid's ceiling. I'd be more willing to play like a Paul George today, just because I think like the pace up spot could benefit him. If Maxi's out, maybe I rethink my Jared McCain take. I was just looking at some usage stuff for Jared McCain, and even with like Embiid out there, like his usage has been fantastic. Like the Miami game, I'm willing to overlook that game. Slow pace game. They kind of got blown out in that game. He didn't get a lot of run in the fourth quarter. And he still ended up with a 23% usage rate. But if you look at like 29.5% against Orlando and 30% against the Knicks. So maybe I'm rethinking this McCain price, even if Embiid plays, if Maxi sits. I have to see, like, we were talking about this on the podcast the other day. Like, I think McCain continues to start when Maxi comes back. I don't see how this kid goes back to the bench after how well he's been playing. So we'll see. It'd be really interesting. Memphis side of this game, obviously some injuries here for Memphis. Anything jumping off the page to you here?
Not really. I think Brandon Clark is pretty interesting at 3,800. Just because they might end up being even more shorthanded. So I think that he's an interesting play. Same thing with I believe where did he go? Yeah. I mean, I guess Clark would be my favorite value play. Maybe Desmond Bane at 7,200, but I mean, this is a back-to-back, so this is not a really good spot for them. I would just try to find some value. I think Clark is interesting, but that's really it for me.
Santi played a lot on Tuesday night, and I assume some of that has to do with Williams getting hurt. That is a huge thing for me, and definitely something like, and it's not like Williams plays a ton of minutes, but he had started to eat into like Santi's minutes enough. If you look at like the games that Williams has been back, and like Santi's minutes went down to 20 and 16, they kind of were splitting that role. So if Williams sits, I think you go to Santi. He's coming off a huge game on Tuesday night. I think this is a spot he definitely could succeed in. So even if he comes off the bench, I think he is someone you're going to take some shots on. Bane will chuck in any game, coming off of a really terrible shooting night. Jalen Wells kind of all over the place minutes-wise. They played a little bit of Luke Kennard. Memphis has a weird rotation right now, so that's the biggest thing.
It's very hard to figure out what they're doing. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, they kept the game is close in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes to go. It's a 7-point game. And like the minutes are still so spread out in an NBA Cup game. Like an NBA Cup game, like these games matter so much. Maybe not so much for Memphis, but they matter for a lot of teams. All right, we got Indiana at Houston. This game has a 231 total. Houston is a 6-point favorite in this game. On the Pacers side, Isaiah Jackson is out. Numhard is out. Neesmith is out. And then we got Ben Shepherd and Miles Turner questionable. On the Houston side, Jalen Green and Cam Whitmore questionable. Jalen Green dealing with illness, so we'll see. Typically find out more information on that on shoot around. Going to the Pacers side first, I mean, Miles Turner matters a lot. Obviously, he sat the other night, and we saw Obi Toppin play 31 minutes. We saw Obi Toppin get up 13 shots in that game. He would be an awesome value play at this price. But, I mean, the biggest thing for me is Mathurin. Like, Mathurin has been balling out. He has at least 40 DK points in 4 of his last 5 games. I like him no matter who's in or out. I think he's very much in play. But, yeah, I mean, as far as Ben Shepherd is concerned, if he's out, TJ McConnell played 26 minutes the other night, 4,800. Pacers definitely have the ability to present some value depending on some of these question marks here.
Yeah, absolutely. If Shepherd's out, McConnell's going to be like a top-notch point per dollar play at 4,800. If Turner sits, we can go back to Toppin. I think we can go back to Siakam too at 7,400. He's pretty cheap. I agree with you about Mathurin, but I mean, obviously, not knowing the Shepherd and Turner news is tough. But if everyone plays, I really only have interest in probably Mathurin or Siakam. One of those two. I would still play either one of those guys if everyone's in.
Yeah. The Houston side of this game, I mean, such an interesting thing here with Green questionable, because if he were out, that's a lot of minutes and a lot of usage that we'd be filling in here for Houston. What are your initial thoughts on Houston with and without Green?
If Green plays, I wouldn't mind playing him at 6,300. That's a pretty cheap price tag. We know he has the ceiling to really smash that price tag. So I wouldn't mind getting to him. If you were to sit, then obviously FEV at 7,100 would be a really, really strong play. I think Amen Thompson would also be an incredibly strong play as well at 5,500. He should be able to pay off that price tag without Green. Even with Green, he could pay off that price tag. Those would be my favorite. But, I mean, I think really there's a lot of good plays on this team. I think Sengun at 8K in this spot. I think I would prefer it if Turner sat. But either way, even if Turner plays, it's not like he's the best defender. So I think 8K for Sengun is a very, very fair price tag.
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest usage bumps with Green off the floor this season have been Fred VanVleet, 5% increase, Jabari Smith, 4.6% increase. So we're watching this news. Sengun averaging 1.47 fantasy points per minute with Green off the floor this year. So, yeah, I mean, definitely interested in Sengun here, but I think there's some potential to maybe play as Jabari Smith in large field tournaments and hope he doesn't shoot 4 times and make 1 basket. So, always, he's like the most tilting player in the NBA, I swear. But I've been talking about Thompson a lot lately. I'd like him in this spot if Green sits. He's another guy that can kind of fill the stat sheet up, so I don't mind him. But VanVleet and Sengun, if Green are out, if Green plays, I don't have a ton of interest in Houston. Maybe a little bit of Thompson or Sengun, but a team that I don't necessarily love if everyone plays, which, I mean, it's fine. Portland at OKC, 222 total. The Thunder, a 14-point favorite in this game. Vegas does not care that they're on a back-to-back. On the Portland side, Ayton doubtful. That's the big one. Simon's questionable. That's the other big one. Those are the 2 that we're really watching here. On the Thunder side, I didn't see any injury news come out of the game, so I assume that everyone will play on the back-to-back here. Very young team, so I assume everyone plays. Go to Portland first. I assume that they'll all play. They're also a 14-point home favorite, so it wouldn't shock me if someone sits here for the Thunder. What do we like here for Portland?
Not a whole heck of a lot. I think that, I mean, assuming Ayton is out, and then we assume Simons is in. He's questionable with an illness. Either way, I don't really want to get too much of this team, really. I'm not really sure what to say. Can we play Klingon?
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't get in foul trouble, he didn't even necessarily get in foul trouble the other night against Atlanta and didn't play a ton, but they closed that game with Robert Williams, and I think Robert Williams and Klingman are just going to kind of split the minutes at center at the 5.
Right.
So I don't know if we want to play him. I think you're taking shots on maybe like a Sharp here. Like he's been playing really well. I mean, over 30 fantasy points in 3 straight games. Obviously, we see a huge uptick in production here if Simons remains out. So he was the guy that really benefited with Simons out of that Atlanta game. So I think he's the guy that I would really want to play if Simons is out. And then the other guy that played really, really good the other night with Simons out was Banton. Banton over 29 fantasy points in 3 straight games. So I think Banton is the other guy. Like if you get news that like Simons is going to sit. So Banton's interesting because they moved Scoot into the starting lineup, and Banton got to handle the ball in the second unit and like had a ton of production with the second unit the other night in that Atlanta game. So 19 shots, and like you take Scoot off that line, he's going to handle the ball a lot. So Simons matters a ton for me because there's a lot of potential here, and like 37% usage rate for Banton the other night with Henderson moving into the starting lineup. So the little things like that, you got to remember, like, yeah, we always talk about how like it benefits starters or somebody starting, but it also benefits when you have a high usage guy like Scoot Henderson on the bench that plays with that second unit. Scoot, like he's a 23 to 25% usage guy most nights. He had a 20% usage rate when he moved to the starting lineup. So he took a huge dip and Banton took a huge increase getting to lead that second unit.
Yeah, if Simons doesn't play, forget everything I just said, because there's definitely a lot of good plays if Simons sits, or at least a couple.
I don't know if we call them good plays.
Yeah, right. But
they're options.
Yeah, they're definitely options. They are. I agree.
Yeah.
I was kind of considering this game as if Simons plays. So, but yeah, if he sits, I love Banton. So yeah,
I mean, I've been talking about second unit usage for years, and I still think it's something that goes overlooked in optimizers. So I think there's still an edge potentially with like second unit usage, and like you're only getting 24 to 26 minutes typically out of these guys. But I mean, when they get a 38% usage rate, like who cares? 25 minutes with that type of usage, you got 19 shots up in 26 minutes. Like, bring it on, bring it on. The Thunder, I mean, I'll say this. Jalen Williams is just crushing right now. He is playing incredible basketball. Love what we're seeing out of him right now. What do you like here for the Thunder?
Yeah, I mean, this game has massive blowout risk. But still, assuming everybody plays, which I think somebody will sit, but who knows? I really like Jalen Williams. It stinks that he doesn't have power forward eligibility anymore, but still, I think he's a really, really strong play. SGA is really too cheap in theory for this matchup, a home matchup against Portland. So I think 10-5 is a perfectly reasonable price tag for him. I guess some of the cheaper guys we could consider, Cason Wallace maybe. 4K, I think he would be an okay play. I don't know if I wanted to get into like any Aaron Wiggins or Lou Dort for this particular game. So I think I'd just leave it to like Jalen, Wallace, or SGA.
So first half against the Spurs, Williams played 16, SGA played 17, Wiggins played 14, Wallace played 16, and Dort played 14. And Caruso played 13. So with it being a back-to-back, if these guys are still out, like if we're still missing pieces here with like Joe and these guys, Holmgren, I know Holmgren's going to be out, but like if Joe sits again, I think you can take shots on Wallace and Wiggins because if the game is out of hand, they're probably not getting taken off the floor. So I think potentially you could play these guys. And I see chat saying, thanks for getting me off of Jamal. I didn't like Jamal. I ended up playing him on FanDuel because like the optimizer just kept spitting him out like every time in my lineup. So I ended up playing him on FanDuel, but I did not play him on DraftKings. And
You
I
didn't
didn't like
Jamal.
him.
You didn't like Jamal.
Not on the
Murray?
podcast last night. I mean, I didn't. I mean, I'll be honest.
Okay.
I could be. Yeah. I mean, I could be right. I mean, I could be right and I could be wrong. And I didn't love Jamal last night, and I probably should have liked him more with knowing. And we didn't know about Jokic last night either. But I mean, I probably should have liked him a little bit more.
It's completely different than the night before because he was like my favorite play on the slate during the crunch time tonight. So
yeah.
But it's different, you know.
It is. I mean, this is a first look pod.
Right.
There's going to be. I mean, I also like Jason Tatum, and he's like the highest scoring player on the slate so far. So, I hope that AD matches him because that would be fantastic for my lineups. But yeah, we'll see. All right, Atlanta at Golden State is where we go next. This game is currently we're going to these 10:00 games, 238.5, and Warriors an 8.5 point favorite. Yeah, Westbrook triple double. We all saw that coming for sure. It's just, man, NBA Cup. I keep saying it, but anyway, Jalen Johnson questionable for Atlanta. Kyle Anderson questionable for the Warriors. Melton out for the Warriors. Looking at the Atlanta side, man, Golden State is so interesting. Matchup wise this season, they're playing really fast. They're playing at the 5th fastest pace in the NBA, but they're also 4th in defensive efficiency. Yep. Both of these teams play fast. The pace of this game, probably the best, and I say probably, this is probably by far the best pace game on the slate. You have the 2nd and 5th fastest teams on the NBA. There's value in that. There's a lot of value in that. So it matters so much if Jalen Johnson plays or not. But the flip side, Tim, is the Warriors are so good defensively. It's really tough. What are we doing with Atlanta in this spot with this type of pace that we're going to see?
And if Johnson plays, they'll be fully healthy. They have Hunter and Bogdanovich back. So, I mean, you could always play Trey, but I don't really want to play him in Golden State against this tremendous defensive team. But the total is so high too, and it's a pretty tight spread. So
no, this game is gonna.
It's kind of like Vegas wants us to I don't know. It's weird. I guess 8.5 is not that tight, but still, it's a really, really high total. Yeah, I don't know what to do about really either side of this game. I don't really like anyone on Atlanta, especially with Bogdanovich back now. He played, I think, 21 minutes.
Yep. Excellent point. 18 and 20.
18 minutes.
Or 18, yeah.
Yeah, he played 18 minutes. He'll probably play 25 in this one, So, that really changes things in terms of this rotation. And could affect Johnson if he plays, because Johnson's been outstanding. But he may have an effect on that.
So here's my thoughts. My thoughts are, if Jalen Johnson sits in this game, I am going to take shots on Trae Young. I'm going to take shots on Dyson Daniels, and I'm probably going to take shots on Ricochet. I think Ricochet just has upside. I will say we saw DeAndre Hunter take 15 shot attempts the other night in that game without Jalen Johnson. So there are so many potential plays here. It's really going to come down to Jalen Johnson. If Jalen Johnson plays and they say he's good to go, I have interest in him. Because, I mean, his production, he's just a stat filler. Those are my favorite types of play. Those are the guys that I really want to play. So I like Ricochet's shooting ability and his ceiling in that aspect in this matchup against Golden State, because it's such a fast-paced game. And you like those guys that can add a couple steals in these fast-paced games, because a steal could turn into an easy bucket and you're 4+ points. So I like this game. I like Atlanta. It's really just going to kind of come down to if Johnson's in or out, because he matters a ton. I'm still going to play some Atlanta whether Johnson plays or not, the game environment is too good not to have interest here. The other side of this game, I mean, I think we're taking some shots on Steph. Draymond's price is kind of getting to the uncomfortable point at 6,100. He is very capable of the poor man's triple-double, like 10-10-10. So he does have a little upside. I hate playing the Warriors outside of Steph and Draymond because they just play so deep and they play so many consistent minutes, and there's no reason to push it. So I probably don't play a lot of the Warriors, even though I love this game.
Yeah, I mean, this rotation is just too deep outside of Curry or Draymond, really. I mean, it's really hard to decipher who's going to be the guy that goes off for Golden State. So it's just Curry or Green for me. But it's a great spot for both of them.
All right, moving on. We got New York at Phoenix. This game is currently at 221.5 total. The Knicks 6-point favorite in this one on the Knicks side. Precious remains out. Miles McBride's already ruled out, and Mitch Rob continues to be out on the Phoenix side. We got Beal, Durant out, and then Nurkic questionable with an ankle sprain. Let's go New York first. I mean, any competitive basketball game, you get the Knicks in right now. Cat just playing awesome basketball. So if you think this game's going to stay competitive, like if you're a believer in this like 6-point line with them being in Phoenix, like I think you're taking shots on Cat. I mean, I mentioned it earlier with Vooch. I think center is a position that's really interesting today because, I mean, obviously I don't have a ton of interest in Embiid. Obviously, we have a lot of interest in Giannis potentially, but I think this is a spot that Cat is like the clear-cut top center option outside of if you're going to play Giannis at center.
Yeah, and it's not going to matter if he's going to be against Nurkic or Plumlee. He should be able to dominate both of them. 9,400 could easily exceed 55, 60 here. Going to play all the minutes that he can handle. Should be a competitive game. So, yeah, I absolutely love Towns. Pretty hard not to love Towns. Outside of Towns, Brunson's always in play, but I think there's better point guard spots like Curry, who's right around that same price tag. McBride's out, right? Did we say that already?
Yes, he's already ruled out.
So I think Campaign's kind of interesting at 4,100 point guard, shooting guard. If he may be able to get like 25 minutes in this game, I think he's an interesting value piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Campaign's minutes just worry me.
For sure, yeah.
Because like he's very capable of having good games. He's just really relying on the three ball. Those like we saw the other night against Washington, 31 fantasy points because he shot so well, 5 for 6 from 3. He had 7 assists in that game. We're talking like 15-10 type games for Cameron Payne. It's always interesting, but my biggest issue with Cam Payne and Miles McBride is like they just play their starters so many minutes. How much of Cameron Payne? I'm looking it up actually because I'm curious. But how much of Cameron Payne was blowout like fantasy points the other night? Because that game was out of hand pretty quick against Washington. So let's see. New York Knicks using game flow. How many fantasy points do you think Cameron Payne had before the fourth quarter? Just curious.
6.
He had 16. He had 15 fantasy points in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
So I will say, like, he had 12.5 at halftime. So if you double that, 4,100, not terrible. But I think Cameron Payne gets checked out of that game. Brunson, Cat, like these guys come back if that game's close and Payne doesn't hit that like mark. So I think, okay, here's my thing. I think Cameron Payne, all this to say, I think Cameron Payne is a 17-minute guy unless it's a blowout. So if you're playing Cam Payne, you're probably not playing Cat.
Right.
If you're playing Cam Payne, you're probably not playing Jalen Brunson because you're thinking this game's going to blow out.
Definitely not. So
if you build a lineup where you're like, all right, I need a cheap play and you want to play a contrarian value play, sure, that's where Cam Payne becomes interesting because he gets the run if this game's a blowout. and you don't have the money for Cat and Jalen anyway. So I do that every once in a while when I'm building tournament teams. So for me, I like Cat. I mean, I've been playing OG a lot. Talk about him every slate, I feel like, but he's 6,500 now. I think we're going to find better plays in that price range. Same with Bridges. Same with Hart. They're so expensive. Like, they're playing a ton of minutes. I would probably play Hart over any of those three, but it's Cat. It's a Cat slate for me. I think this game has the potential to stay close. On the other side, I mean, Devin Booker. Like, if this game stays close, Devin Booker is going to have to score. I think Tyus Jones potentially still has a little meat on the bone. Good shout out to our buddy Will. Hopefully he's feeling a little bit better. That's kind of what I'm looking at here. I know I'm missing somebody. Osho,
yeah,
just playing really, really solid minutes right now. If you want to take shots on him at 3,900, that's fine. But I mean, Allen
he was super low owned last slate he played in. I played him.
It was the slate before that. Last slate he was chalky.
He
was okay. Maybe he wasn't as chalky.
No,
as I thought,
he wasn't. He was only 9% in all the like $100 and $200 single entry stuff. He was only like 9%. So, but yeah, assuming he starts again, 3,900, I absolutely love him. So he's a really, really strong value play.
Yeah, Yeezy said he's going back to his also. He wasn't chalk. Maybe I just thought he was chalk. I thought
he was going to be chalk because he was projecting so well, and then like when I saw it, I was like, wow, like that's awesome. So yeah, he did.
I also thought it's like Yeezy was talking about in chat earlier. I thought Zach Collins was going to be chalky today, and he's 14% in the contest I'm looking at right now. So,
well, on DK, he got squeezed by Saric and Davis. That's what happened. Everyone went Saric, I think.
Yeah, Castle's really low, and I would love to see Castle have a huge second half. That'd be fantastic because he's 5%, so that'd be great. Anyway, all right, we finish it out with I live for Stevie mispronouncing players' names. Hey. I feel like I've done a way better job in the last like 2 or 3 years than before. Orlando at LA taking on the Clippers. This game has, I think it's like let's see if it's updated. It was 208, 207. Magic a 1.5 point favorite. Orlando side, Apollo's out. Wendell Carter Jr. is questionable. Clippers side, Kawhi's out. And Norman Powell is out with a hamstring strain. So that obviously matters. Let's go to Orlando here first. My boy Franz Wagner is just absolutely balling out right now. He's playing incredible basketball, and there's no doubt about it. What are your thoughts here on the Magic?
I could not imagine a worse late night hammer game.
Well, there's 3 of them at least, right? There's 3 10 o'clock games.
This is the 10:30 one, though. You know,
that's true.
This is the late one. Really bad game for DFS. I think a pretty decent real life game, but bad for DFS. Franz is fine, 9K. He's smashing. He's gonna be super low owned. That's about all I can say. But I mean, talk about a horrible game environment. When was the last time you saw a 207 total? That is
a lot of times this year with the Magic.
That's true, but I mean, it's just like I don't know. It's Franz, and then I don't know. I always get Goga wrong. I mean, doesn't matter what I do, I seem to always get him wrong.
You got to play him against true bigs. That's where that's where he succeeds. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
like look at the games he's done well outside of that Washington game where he just had an insane rebounding game. But I mean, you look at last time out against Phoenix, against Miles Turner on the 13th against Indy, like he does well against bigs. I mean, that's where he succeeds. I'll say this about Goga, right? They have no issues running Mo Wagner and Jonathan Isaac out there when they need, some production. So I don't think he is safe by any means. Magic playing, I mean, they're playing really good basketball. Like we saw a huge game the other night from Anthony Black, so that was good.
Yeah,
but Yeah, I mean, for me on the Magic side, if Wendell Carter Jr. sits, I think Goga at 5,400 is just a solid, cheap center play. We don't have a ton of those. We haven't talked about a ton of those, so I don't hate that. I don't know if I want to chase the Anthony Black thing, but they showed us last time out when he's playing well, they'll play him. And it wasn't a hit to like KCP. KCP got the minutes still. So I think like the negative correlation there was probably Jalen Suggs lost a few extra minutes to Black because he was playing well. I don't know how much I really like want to chase that. I think Franz is the play if you're going to play anybody. But again, like this is probably the slowest paced game on the slate by a large margin. This isn't a great defensive matchup for anybody. I mean, Orlando plays at the 18th pace. The Clippers are the 23rd pace. So slow pace game. Orlando top 10 defensively and the Clippers 15th. So, I mean, Franz, Goga, I don't hate it. NBA Cup games, I'll be playing Jonathan Isaac. They've been giving him minutes in those NBA Cup games. Clippers side of this one, I mean, Chris Dunn, right? 4,400, no Norman Powell. Like, Chris Dunn, Coffee, like one of these guys, man, like one of these cheap guys from the Clippers, Terrence Mann, Coffee, or Dunn is going to get minutes enough with Norman Powell being out that we have to play one of these guys, I feel. You don't have to.
I guess so. I don't really agree with you. I don't really want to play any of them.
Fair enough. I mean,
yeah.
But like you are replacing a guy that plays 30 to 40 minutes a night. Like that is a lot of minutes.
True.
Gosh, I wish it would just be Kevin Porter Jr., but it's not going to be. But
I was gonna say I wish it would just be one of them, right? It's hard to know really which one's gonna be. That's why kind of a stay away from me.
Dunn was already starting with Powell. So I don't think it'll be Dunn who gets a huge bump. I really think it's interesting. Like if it's Mann or Coffee, like either or, like whoever starts, I probably have interest in the other one because they'll have all the usage with the second unit, and that's where they really succeed. Like we saw Mann and Coffee both have huge second and fourth quarters the other night, so kind of have interest in the other person who doesn't start here between these guys. They're just so cheap. Like Coffee or Mann, like playing 30 minutes.
Though. We won't be able to.
We won't. Yeah, you're right. I mean, if you plug them in a forward or a small forward spot and just say, make sure you have Coffee plugged in because he's 41, you can switch to Mann. So like you can play either one. Because I don't like the more I think about it, I don't think it's going to be Chris Dunn. So I think it's going to be Coffee or Mann. That's really it. I mean, I don't necessarily love this spot for James Harden. He can always have those like big games, but he's just not my favorite like spend up option today.
Yeah.
My boy, Connect 4 is just shooting lights out, huh? What a start.
Yeah.
Ooh, 8 quick points. Yeah. Hatchamar getting ruled out was huge for him. So, all right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here. Hope everyone, like I said, having a great Tuesday night. Favorite play under 5K to go 7X. We have a few options. Who's a cheap play that you think has a little bit of upside today?
What was the question? How many X?
7X under 5K.
All right, 7X under 5K. I'm gonna go Ty Jerome.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the injury news, that could be a big one. Mine is definitely going to be determined by injury news too, but I think Miles Turner sits. Give me Obi Toppin at 4,900. Over 8K to go under 5X. Who's your bust today?
I will go with. Man, there's a few that I like. I will go with Harden. Yeah,
Harden's probably my least favorite too, but Joel Embiid's my other guy. Until we see like that usage game from Joel Embiid, it's hard for me to love him here. The Spurs, I didn't realize the Spurs. Dave says San Antonio is putting it to OKC without Wemby. They're up 74-62 on the Thunder right now with no Wemby. Wow. What a game. Harrison Barnes. God, Harrison Barnes. I didn't even once, not once in my head today did I say I want to play Harrison Barnes. Not one time with all the Spurs news did I say I want to play Harrison Barnes today. So shame on me. Favorite 6X play today. Who do you got? I even listed on the podcast like 5 potential large field tournament plays for the Spurs yesterday, and not once did I say I wanted to play Barnes. So shame on me. Anyway, sorry.
I'm gonna go Giannis.
Oh, going to Giannis. You love it. I get it, man. I do. I'm gonna go Cat. I think Cat's gonna have a big game today. Who's your favorite GPP ceiling play today?
I suppose I can't say Giannis again because he would be it.
I mean, you can. There's no rules about. Yeah.
Then I'm gonna say Giannis.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I am like going back to my whole thought process yesterday. Just good games potentially create really good atmospheres. I'm gonna go Trae Young. I know Golden State's been playing great defense. I think this is a game Trae Young just has a big game. Give me Trae Young here for a big ceiling play. I do really like Dame, but I think Trae Young. I meant both of those guys. Dame is the other guy that I really love today, but he's my Let's Get Weird GPP play. Anyway, who is your Let's Get Weird GPP play today?
I will go with Donovan Clingan.
I like it. I already kind of said it. My Let's Get Weird GPP that I have written down is Dame. I don't think he's going to get a lot of ownership today. Even in this great pace up spot, he's kind of in this weird price range. I think a lot of people play Giannis over him. I think it's a great spot for Dame today. Like I said, I already bet his points. That's my pick and play or player prop play today. So, any bets that you like?
I got to pull it up real quick. I want to look to see props on Curry. See if those are up yet.
For his points, it's 25.5.
5. All right, yeah. I'm going to take the over 25.5 on that. That's on DK.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that at all. That's it. I don't really have anything else. Do you?
Nope. I think that's it.
All right, we're gonna. Oh, I do kind of have a 3-pick parlay, but it's not good enough. So anyway, that's it. We're gonna.
Not good. It's not good enough.
It's like plus 160. And I hate betting those. I was hoping I was putting it in as I was saying it. I was hoping it was 240, and it's not. So we're gonna get out of here. Hope everyone has a fantastic Wednesday. We're back tomorrow talking NFL for NFL week 12, right?
I think so.
That's crazy. Yeah. Noto and I, NFL tomorrow, back with NBA on Friday. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.